My dear friends, have you ever stood in the quiet of the night, feeling the weight of fear or uncertainty pressing upon your heart? Imagine for a moment a promise so powerful that it can lift that burden, a promise that whispers peace into the chaos of our lives. Psalm 91, a song of divine protection, begins with these timeless words: "He who dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty." What does it mean to dwell in that sacred place? Today, I invite you to journey with me into the heart of the psalm, not just as words on a page, but as a living embrace from God Himself, calling us to trust, to hope, and to find refuge in His love. Let us begin with the first promise of Psalm 91, a dwelling place in God's presence. To dwell in the secret place of the Most High is not to visit fleetingly like a guest passing through, but to make your home there, to rest your soul in the certainty of God's care. Think of a child nestled in the arms of a loving parent, unafraid, secure. That is the invitation of the psalm. It speaks to each of us, no matter where we stand, whether in joy or sorrow, strength or weakness. In ancient times, the people of Israel faced wars, famines, and countless trials, yet these words brought them comfort. They remind us today that God's shadow is not a fleeting shade, but an eternal shelter covering us through every storm. Consider the beauty of this image, the shadow of the Almighty. A shadow moves with its source, never parting from it. So too does God's presence remain with us, step by step, moment by moment. In my years of prayer and reflection, I have seen how this promise speaks to the human heart. I recall a woman I once met, her face lined with worry for her family. She carried Psalm 91 in her pocket, its words worn from touch, and she told me, "These words remind me that God sees me even in my darkest hours." Her story is not unlike yours or mine. We all face moments when the world feels heavy, yet Psalm 91 assures us, you are never alone. God's shadow is your refuge, a place where fear cannot linger. This promise of refuge leads us to another radiant truth in Psalm 91. He shall give His angels charge over you to keep you in all your ways. Pause for a moment and let those words sink into your heart. Angels, messengers of God's love, watching over you, guiding your steps. What a tender assurance this is. In the ancient world, angels were seen as warriors of light, protectors sent by God to shield His people. Yet, this promise is not locked in the past, it lives for us today. Whether you walk through crowded streets or quiet valleys, whether your days are filled with laughter or tears, God's angels are near, unseen yet ever present, guarding you in ways we may never fully comprehend. I think of a story from years ago shared by a young man who survived a terrible accident. As he lay in the wreckage, he felt an inexplicable peace, as if someone were holding him, whispering, "You are not alone." Later, he found Psalm 91 and clung to its words about angels. He believed, as I do, that God's care surrounds us even in moments of peril. These are not mere stories, they are echoes of a truth woven into the fabric of the psalm. God's protection is not distant or abstract. It is as close as your next breath, as real as the ground beneath your feet. But let us go deeper still. The psalm tells us, "You shall not be afraid of the terror by night, nor of the arrow that flies by day." Fear is a shadow that haunts us all at times, fear of the unknown, of loss, of failure. Yet, these words are a bold declaration. Fear does not have the final word. God does. In my many years of listening to people's hearts, I have seen how fear can grip even the strongest among us. A mother once confided in me, her voice trembling, about her child's illness. Together, we read Psalm 91, and as we spoke these words, her eyes softened. She found strength not in denying fear, but in trusting God's promise to stand between her and the terrors of the night. This promise of courage is not a call to ignore danger, but to face it with faith. The terror by night may be the worries that keep you awake, the doubts that whisper in the silence. The arrow by day may be the challenges that strike unexpectedly. Yet, Psalm 91 invites you to lift your gaze to God, who is your shield. He does not promise a life without trials, but He promises to walk with you through them, to hold you steady when the winds of fear blow fiercely. As we linger in the promise of courage, Psalm 91 offers us another image of God's love. He shall cover you with His feathers, and under His wings you shall take refuge. What a gentle yet mighty picture this is. Like a mother bird shielding her young from the storm, God gathers us close, His love both tender and unyielding. In my years of pondering the scriptures, I have found this verse to be a balm for wounded hearts. It speaks not only of protection but of intimacy, a God who is not far off but near, enveloping us in his care. Imagine for a moment a child running to a parent's arms after a fall. That instinct to seek safety is woven into our souls, and Psalm 91 reminds us where true safety lies. I once met a man who had lost everything: his home, his livelihood, his sense of purpose. He carried a small Bible, its pages marked at Psalm 91. He told me, "When I read of God's feathers, I feel him holding me even when I cannot see the way forward." His words stayed with me, a testament to the power of this psalm to restore hope. No matter how fierce the winds of life may blow, God's wings are a sanctuary, a place where we are known and cherished. This image of refuge flows into another promise: no evil shall befall you, nor shall any plague come near your dwelling. These words are bold, aren't they? They challenge us to trust in God's sovereignty even when the world around us seems fragile. In ancient times, plagues and dangers were ever present, yet the people of Israel clung to this promise as a lifeline. Today, we face our own plagues: sickness, division, despair, but the heart of this verse remains true. God is our protector, not only of our bodies but of our spirits. Let me share a memory. During a time of great suffering in a community I visited, families gathered to pray Psalm 91 together. Their voices, though weary, grew stronger with each verse. They were not denying their pain but proclaiming their trust in a God who sees beyond the moment. This is what Psalm 91 invites us to do: to stand firm in faith, to believe that God's love is greater than any evil we face. It is a promise not of a life without hardship, but of a God who surrounds us, keeping us whole in his grace. This assurance of God's protection draws us to another profound truth in Psalm 91. 1,000 may fall at your side and 10,000 at your right hand, but it shall not come near you. These words paint a vivid scene, don't they? They speak of a world where chaos and loss surround us, yet God's promise holds firm, a shield that no danger can pierce. In the days of old, warriors carried these words into battle, trusting that God's hand would guard them. But this promise is not only for warriors, it is for every one of us facing the battles of our own lives. I recall a conversation with a young woman who felt overwhelmed by the struggles around her: news of conflict, stories of suffering, the weight of a world in turmoil. She asked me, "How can I find peace when everything seems to be falling apart?" Together, we turned to Psalm 91, and as we read this verse, her heart began to lighten. She realized that God's protection is not a promise of isolation from pain, but a vow that nothing can separate us from his love. Even when 1,000 fears press close, God stands as our fortress, unshaken and eternal. Let us linger here for a moment. This verse does not deny the reality of suffering. God knows the tears we shed, the burdens we carry. Instead, it invites us to see beyond the chaos, to trust that God's presence is stronger than any force against us. In my many years of walking with people through their trials, I have seen this truth take root. Families torn by grief, individuals facing illness, communities battered by hardship, all have found strength in these words. They remind us that God's promise is not fragile, it endures, holding us steady when the ground beneath us trembles. And so, we come to another layer of the Psalm's beauty: because he has set his love upon me, therefore I will deliver him. Here, we glimpse the heart of Psalm 91, a relationship, a bond of love between us and God. To set your love upon God is to choose him, to turn toward him in trust, even when the way is unclear. This is not a love that demands perfection, but one that seeks connection, like a friend reaching out in the dark. God responds to that love with the promise of deliverance, a vow to lift us from the snares of life's trials. I think of a father I once met whose life had been marked by mistakes and regret. He felt unworthy of God's care, yet he began to pray Psalm 91, drawn to this verse. Over time, he told me, "I learned that God doesn't ask for my strength, he asks for my trust." His story is a mirror for us all. No matter where we have been or what we have done, God sees our love, however small, and meets it with his infinite grace. This promise of deliverance is not earned. It is a gift given freely to those who turn their hearts toward him. This gift of deliverance brings us to another radiant promise in Psalm 91. He shall call upon me, and I will answer him. I will be with him in trouble. What comfort these words hold! They remind us that God is not a distant ruler watching from afar, but a loving presence who hears our every cry. To call upon God is to open your heart, to speak your fears, your hopes, your joys, and to know that he listens. In my years of serving and praying with others, I have seen the power of this promise transform lives, bringing light to even the darkest moments. I recall a moment from a visit to a small village where a community had faced great loss after a storm. Amid the ruins, an elderly woman stood, her hands clasped, reciting Psalm 91. She told me, "When I call to God, I feel Him here, holding my hand." Her faith was not a denial of her pain, but a bridge to hope. This is what Psalm 91 offers us, a God who answers, who walks with us through trouble, not as a stranger, but as a friend who never leaves our side. Trouble may come, illness, grief, uncertainty, but God's presence is closer still, a steady hand guiding us through. And what does it mean to have God with us in trouble? It is not always a dramatic rescue, though God is capable of miracles. Sometimes it is the quiet strength to face another day, the peace that settles in your heart when all seems lost. I have met countless souls who testify to this truth, a soldier who found calm amidst chaos, a parent who discovered resilience in loss, a child who smiled despite hardship. Psalm 91 assures us that God's companionship is our greatest treasure, a promise that no storm can sweep away. As we reflect on this, the psalm leads us to yet another assurance: with long life I will satisfy him and show him my salvation. These words are a crown upon the promises of Psalm 91, a vision of life not merely measured in years but in fullness, in purpose, in the joy of knowing God. Salvation here is not only a future hope but a present reality, a life rooted in God's love, flourishing under His care. In ancient times, long life was a sign of blessing, but today we see it as something deeper, a life rich with meaning, no matter its length. I think of a man I once knew who lived modestly yet radiated joy. He read Psalm 91 daily, and when I asked him why, he said, "It reminds me that every day is a gift from God, a chance to see His goodness." His words echo the heart of this verse. God's salvation is not a distant prize, but a light that shines now, filling our days with hope and purpose. Whether you are young or old, whether your path is smooth or rocky, Psalm 91 invites you to live fully in God's presence, to savor the beauty of a life held in His hands. As we hold this promise of a full and meaningful life, Psalm 91 draws us to its deepest invitation: to trust in God as our ultimate refuge. The psalmist declares, "He is my refuge and my fortress, my God, in whom I trust." These are not just words. They are a song of the heart, a confession of faith that has echoed through centuries. In the wilderness of ancient Israel, amidst wars and wandering, these words were a lifeline. Today, they speak to us in our own wilderness, moments of doubt, struggle, or searching, reminding us that God is our safe haven, a fortress that no fear can breach. I have seen this trust transform lives in the most unexpected ways. Years ago, I met a young boy in a hospital, his small frame frail but his spirit bright. He had memorized Psalm 91, and when I asked how he could smile through his pain, he said, "God is my fortress. I'm safe with Him." His faith, so simple yet profound, touched everyone around him. It taught me that trust is not the absence of fear, but the courage to rest in God's arms, knowing He holds us fast. This is the heart of Psalm 91, a call to anchor our lives in God, to find strength in His unchanging love. This trust is not a solitary act. It binds us to one another. Psalm 91 is not only a personal prayer but a shared song, uniting families, communities, and generations. I think of the countless voices that have lifted these words in times of trial: soldiers in battle, mothers at bedsides, congregations in worship. Each time we speak or pray this psalm, we join that chorus, proclaiming that God's protection is for all who seek Him. It is a reminder that our faith is a tapestry, woven together by the stories of those who have trusted before us and those who trust alongside us now. Let us pause to consider what this means for us today. In a world that often feels fractured, where fear and uncertainty cast long shadows, Psalm 91 stands as a beacon. It does not promise a life without challenges, but it offers something greater: a God who is with us, who covers us, who answers us. Every verse of this psalm is an invitation to live differently, to walk with courage, to love with openness, to trust with abandon. It calls us to see beyond the storms of the moment and to rest in the eternal truth that God is our refuge, now and always. And so, my dear friends, as we carry the words of Psalm 91 in our hearts, let them be more than a prayer. Let them be a way of life. Let them guide you when the path is unclear, comfort you when the night is long, and inspire you to share God's love with those around you. This psalm is a gift, not only for you but for those you hold dear. Share its promises with a friend. Pray its words with your family. Let its truth shine through your actions. And as you do, know that you are never alone. God's shadow covers you. His angels guard you. His love sustains you. I invite you now to reflect. How will you carry Psalm 91 into your days? Will you let it be your shield, your song, your strength? If this journey through these sacred words has touched your heart, share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Like it, comment below with your thoughts, your stories, your prayers. Let us build a community of faith together. Subscribe so we can continue to explore God's promises, side by side. May Psalm 91 be your light, guiding you to peace, today and always.